And it's time for another episode of Watch Me Work, where the me in the title is you, and it's all about you and your work and your creative process. I'm SLP. We have been doing this show for like 15 years. I know Carol's nodding because we used to do it in the lobby of the public theater. Well, we started in a little theater down the street from the public theater, but then we moved to the lobby of the public theater, and then we moved on to Zoom, where we did it like 5 days a week for a little while. And then we found that Monday was the sweet spot. So Monday at 5, we hang out with you. We work for 20 minutes, and then we talk with you about your work and your creative process. And while we don't have time to actually share work here, we do have plenty of time to talk with you about your work and your creative process. So after the 20 minutes of work time, if you choose to get in touch, new work development people will show you how.
Yes, hello, and welcome back to Watch Me Work. Great to see you all. As SLP said, after the first 20 minutes of work session, we will get a nice queue of questions going. In order to ask your question, please click the Reacts button with the heart at the bottom of your screen. It'll give you an option to raise your hand. So if you could raise your hand, we'll get a nice list of questions going, and we'll call on your name and ask for you to unmute and ask your question. And that's how we're going to do it.
That's how we're going to do it. And that's the way we've always been doing it. With a special thanks to the Public Theater for supporting us and to HowlRound for supporting us. Love to both of those wonderful institutions. And now it's time to give some love to yourself. Here we go, 20 minutes. Hey, hey. It's that wonderful time again where we take questions from you.
Yes, and just a friendly reminder, if you click the react button at the bottom of the screen, there's a raise your hand function. So click that button, you have a question, and we'll get the queue going.
My God, such enthusiasm. What's going on over there?
We're very happy today. We're very happy you want to ask
A question?
We won't ask why. We'll just accept it and appreciate it.
Yes.
I guess I wasn't encouraging enough. Oh, there you go. Okay. Yes.
Thank you, Joy.
Joy, please unmute.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, SLP and
Hey,
everyone.
Hey, darling.
So, this question is about helping me prepare what to expect in terms of collaboration with the director
Mm.
in a workshop. So, my understanding is that the purpose of the workshop is to refine a piece, make everything flow, polish it up. And I'm expecting kind of a collaborative conversation with a director, but I know that different directors have different approaches, and I'm before I start talking to some, I'm wondering what guidance you could provide in terms of what to expect along those lines.
Yeah, that's a great question, Joy. So I'm guessing that these directors or that you're interviewing directors, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, great. And you haven't worked with any of them before.
correct. I've had warm introductions to a few of them.
Great, great, great. And okay, so you know people who know them.
Right.
Great. Okay, okay. Are you meeting in person or on Zoom? The first
On,
meeting?
on Zoom.
Okay, great. Okay. Do they live in the same time zone as you? I'm guessing. Right. Okay. Okay. It's a great place to be, Joy. I mean, you've done the work, you're ready for a workshop, you're interviewing directors. This is all wonderful. So just feel good about where you are right now. That's one of the most important things you can do, going into the relationship with confidence. Like Joy, you're on the good foot. You've done a huge amount of work, because it's a play with choreography. I'm trying to remember what it is. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, so you've done a lot of work before you sat down to write your piece and start planning your piece. There was nothing there, so you've done a huge amount of work. So feel good about that. Feel confident, because directors, they need to know that you're confident. It's not like I have all the, you don't have all the answers and you don't want to hear what they say. It's not that. It's just that you have a certain confidence. You're proud of the work that you've done thus far. You can tell them that, I feel good about my piece. I'm really proud of the work I've done so far. I'm open to notes and collaboration, and I'm excited about the process. I really hope that we can collaborate. What does collaboration mean to you? You can ask them. What does that mean? Will we have sort of a joint say in the hiring of actors? What are things, how do you handle difficult situations? What are some difficult things that might happen in rehearsal, and how do you suggest handling them? If an actor doesn't understand and starts getting a little nervous and scared, how would you handle that? Um, you decide, Joy, if you want to be in the rehearsal, right? And tell the director your decision. I'd like to be in the rehearsal, for example. I'd like to be here every day. What I usually do is I allow the director to take the lead since they're directing, but I'm right there. And if someone says, well, what does that line mean? I mean, well, what do you think it means? Let's talk about it, what it might mean. So everything's a conversation. even if I have a strong opinion about something. You know,
Okay.
and the confidence you have in your work really helps. You can ask the director, did they give you dramaturgical notes, you know, about notes about structure, form, story, things like that. You know, you can ask the director, can we talk and have extensive conversations before we go into workshop? It's like you want to develop that relationship where you guys are talking to each other. So those kinds of things are helpful. Does that cover a lot of ground? I mean, it's
Yeah, it does. Thank you. It's very affirming. Thank you, SLP.
Amrita, new work development. Do you all have anything to chime in? You guys do a lot of readings and workshops.
No, I loved what you said, SLP. It was just really resonating, the conversation about establishing the needs of collaborative process and what it means to hold alignment with that. Particularly what you were saying about, you know, Joy, when you will want to be engaged with in the process and how often you want to come and making that connected and how you want to receive notes or feedback. This is within that, but something else that I've also experienced with writers for a meeting, directors early on is being able to talk about conflict and being able to actually ask, okay, when we encounter a situation where we might have disagreement, how do you like to handle that? Because I feel like that can often be really ripe for the ways that you can then explore and establish a principle of communication.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And because there's another factor, which is the composer's point of view. So a director is interacting with both of us.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And that's a great thing to talk about too, in terms of what it means to interact with a composer and a writer, and how a director may hold connection to you both in those conversations. So yeah, so really affirming what you said, SLP, that feels very right to me.
That's so helpful, Amrita. And also, Joy, you know, to what Amrita said, you might want to oh, I just forgot. Because there's a composer, you might want to just establish, how are we going to talk? What are the goals of the workshop? Are the goals of the workshop to figure out the music? You know, what are the goals? Are we going to really focus on the music? Are we really going to focus on the story? Are we really going to focus on the libretto? Are we really going to focus on the choreography? Just as much as you can, get everybody's or get the director's ideas on that before you go in, so that when you're going into it, you have some kind of a game plan.
Yeah, thank you. Just a follow-up question on that one. My understanding is there's a standard of 29 hours for a workshop. And so given that, it does seem like we'd have to prioritize. We might not be able to cover all of those things in 29 hours.
Exactly. So you might want to touch on some of the things, or just talk about that with your director. That's establish a game plan. And some
Okay.
other folks have some ideas in the chat. You can check those out.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much. Appreciate guidance.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
Thank you, Joy. Thank you. Lauren, feel free to unmute and ask your question.
Hi, I'm a new playwright. I'm working on my first play, so I'm not at that stage yet. But am I wrong in thinking it's not that different from working in a traditional office, which I did for years, and navigating those, personalities like you have to do in life, and working with different people and different personalities. And it doesn't seem to be that different to me, but I could be wrong.
I know, Lauren, I think you're right. I think it's when you're in a workshop processes, it is a lot about navigating different personalities and making sure that you check in with folks about who wants what when. The one thing I would offer is that when you're in a situation that's involves creative output that you have written, it's like your heart is on the table.
right,
Not just like, we got a deadline, we got to get these products out to, it's your heart and soul. And that does change the dynamic of the relationship somewhat, in my
exactly.
experience, having worked in an office and having had workshops, so there's just more at stake, and you just have to be kinder, more loving, smarter, better when you're in a workshop sometimes. Yeah, but thank you. You're right. You're right.
Okay, that's a good point about
How's your
any.
play going? How's your play going, Lauren?
I'm finally, the last week, I think I'm finally reaching what I call the dramatic instinct. Getting to the conflict, culling everything to get to the conflict.
Fantastic.
It's taken a while because it's somewhat autobiographical. It's not autobiographical, but it has implements of it. And that's always tough because I've heard that from many, many people, So, and like you said, it's very, very, it means a lot. It means a lot.
Mhm.
The stakes are high,
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's not like, having to do something when I used to work doing this thing by this time. No, this is different.
Mhm.
And
Exactly.
plus the arts, is so vital that, we have to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Thank you. And keep us
Okay.
posted on your progress, okay?
Thank you. Thank you. That's very kind. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lauren. We have quite a queue started, but first, Lisa, I saw your hand was up earlier, so I just wanted to check and see if you still had a question you would like to ask.
No, actually, it was discussed, and I didn't want to have to, it was not necessary to circle back to it because.
I understand.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying.
No
Great.
worries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks
So
for asking.
next, we are going to go, and I apologize, I don't quite know how to pronounce your name, but you can see me. I can see your face smiling. Can you unmute and pronounce your name for us?
My name is Chinyere.
Chinyere.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Hey, how you doing, Chinyere?
I'm well. How are you?
We're well. We're here. What's your question today, bro?
For context, I'm a young playwright and composer. I wrote my first play and my first length musical about over a year ago. And that last year writing a lot of shorter work. And I'm getting back to writing some longer length, hopefully a couple of length works this year, both dramatic theater and musical theater. And I keep starting projects and stopping them. I keep being told, oh, the one you should continue is the one that flies off your fingers the fastest. And I'm like, no play flies off my fingers the fastest. That's not how it would work. I don't write quickly. Nothing just flows out of me. Everything requires work. And so I guess on some level, my question is, aside from that advice, how do you know when the difficult thing to write, whether personally or I guess also socially, is the thing worth writing? And how do you know when the wall is between you and an oasis, and when the wall is between you and a desert?
Oh my goodness. What a great question. What a great question. Yeah, the thing that flies from under your fingers the fastest. Yeah, yeah, in my experience, I'm not ordinarily a fast writer either. So we'd be doing nothing if we only wrote those things. Yeah, how do we know? That's really great. How do we know if it's so we have a funny joke in my household. It involves a place called Schlorafia, and mythologically or story-wise, Schlorafia, it's a wall of, I want to say, oatmeal that story-wise you have to eat through to get to the garden. And yeah, you're right, bro. You don't know as you're eating like a thick wall of oatmeal. There you go. You eat through this wall of oatmeal to get to paradise, basically. I would just say, I mean, let's play this mental mind experiment. I would say that paradise always is on the other side.
Okay.
Yeah. So eat through the wall, because for me, the joy of finishing the work getting that first draft and then, you know, working on and getting the second draft and what have you is always a paradise. It's like, yay, I wrote something. You see what no, you're not sharing my enthusiasm. I know I should try. Zoe, give me
No,
some.
I'm just thinking about. So I guess in your mind, the question is not, do I finish? Is the thing worth finishing? The act of finishing it is worth it in itself.
Totally.
Okay.
Because why are you gonna like? What are you gonna do? Like stand on this side of the wall and be like, I don't know. I need some proof. If you're good enough to let in, you know, let them
Okay. That
Go-
makes sense.
go there because you're going to be pouring yourself into the work, right?
You make the paradox on the other side either way.
Yeah, you pour yourself into it, so it's going to be wonderful.
Okay then. Thank you.
You're welcome. Beautiful question. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Next I see Simone. You'd please unmute yourself.
Hey,
Hi,
good. I'm still resonating with that, the difference between the desert and the oasis. I'm sitting with that. Thank you for that. I guess my question for today is just looking for some sparks of ideas. I'm revisiting a piece that I wrote several years ago. It's about a 7-minute piece that's a letter to the editor, right? Responding to a letter to the editor. And it's a pretty strong piece. I'm happy with it. And a couple of years ago, I dusted it off again, and originally it was for one voice, and then I dusted it off again and played around with it, having 4 different, 2 voices, and the time we did it with 4 voices. And so I'm kind of like, I'm going to dust it off again and trying to figure out, when I originally did it, it was part of a larger show of different, for lack of a better word, wasn't vaudeville, but that kind of, there was different, a lot of different artists. And so this was my 7-minute piece. And so I'm trying to think of how to make it a standalone piece. And so I'm trying to, I guess, where the crossroads where I'm at, which I hadn't really thought about until sitting on these 20 minutes of writing and working, is, do I expand the piece, to a longer piece, or do I kind of do the colored museum, George Wolfe, like, a bunch of different completely different short pieces put together that make a whole. So I'm just kind of, just looking for some ideas to spark where to go.
I mean, either would be wonderful. I mean, the Colored Museum is such a wonderful work. And we love George C. Wolfe. Woohoo! Get excited about George C. Wolfe every day. So I mean that have it being a one small piece in a sort of, what do you call them, vignettes, I suppose.
The word I was looking for. Thank you.
No, that could be very cool. If that seems interesting to you, but I'm feeling. How many voices did you have in the piece? It was 1, and then it was 4. Did you say?
Yeah, I think we did 4. Yeah,
How did that feel? Was it fun?
It was, and it definitely brought something different to the piece than I expected. Yeah, it kind of made it a little more expansive and yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what you could also do is have the piece that you have now with the 4 voices, right? Like if you call them 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. Characters' names, like, and make that sort of the one of the high points of the play, and then dial back and tell the story of the 4 people who are talking. Because they're 4 characters, and how they came to have this conversation, which you've already written. Do that too, So they're either you could just expand your piece, like, and make it longer by going backwards and forwards and making it have a part of it, or you could do like George C. Wolfe brilliantly does in the Colored Museum. Sure, either. It's really what you want to see, It's all you want to see.
Thank you for that. That's helpful to think about those 4 different voices, and and also not being intimidated. It's like, oh, it's a really strong 7-minute piece. And then it's like, oh, now I gotta, if I do a bunch of other vignettes, then I have to have more strong 7
True,
7-minute pieces, which,
that's true. I mean, you could do nothing. You could always do nothing. Just put it in a drawer. The end. That just find other festivals like that to showcase it in. But it
yeah.
sounds like you want to do something. I mean, you're just gonna,
I feel like as a standalone, it kind of if it's a standalone piece, then it kind of needs some little bookends. And so that's why, again, I keep coming back to this
Mhm.
one work. So I was like, I should do something.
Try
How do I
writing
expand
some
it?
bookends because then they're brand new. You don't have to touch
Yeah.
the standalone. Write some bookends. Write some other pieces.
Yeah.
That could be fun.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sounds like a good time. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Great, thank you, Simone. Zara, feel free to unmute yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello. I'm really glad to be here.
Hi.
Hi. So my question is, I wrote it was like an 8 to 10 minute play with 2 characters. And it took me a long time to even create it because one of the characters is from a novel that's not in public domain. And I'm not at any place where I'm producing or any of those things. I'm just wanting to have like a Zoom reading with family and friends just so I can hear it. But I'm curious how early in the process you need to start thinking about rights if you want it to move forward into something bigger. Because like I said, right now it's just this little
Right.
thing
Right.
that my friends and family are going to be hearing. But
Right. Yeah. Yeah, when it comes to working, building your piece on someone else's work that is not in the public domain, I have very strong I have very strong opinions. And I think you should get permission before you start going forward. If it's in the public domain, you're writing something on Shakespeare or whatever. I can't think of it who's in the public. The Great Gatsby recently is in the public domain, I think, like that. You can build your house, your castle on the Great Gatsby. It's in the public domain. It's been, it's but I feel very strongly, especially with AI saying, hey, what's a writer anyway? It's all belongs to, Zuckerberg or Bezos or Zuckerbezos or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I really feel strongly that if you want to write your own stuff, because you wouldn't want someone to do that to your work, so I do think if it's not in the public domain, then you should either wait until you're ready to figure out about getting rights or go and start getting rights. It's the right thing to do. It's 2025. Those of us who care about doing what's right need to do what's right. So that's me, but it's also a free country. So
no, I mean, I think that's why I asked. It took me so long to even, the story's been in my head a long time, but
right.
I wasn't writing it down because I'm like, this character's not in public domain, so I was kind of waiting. And then now I'm like writing a story, but I'm like, I don't know what the process is. So that was more the question too.
Yeah.
But so I wanted to start, but I wasn't sure if that made sense to
Yeah.
start. So
Maybe
yeah.
there's another character from a public domain story or another character that's out of your own head that you could, work with. You've got a great imagination. Come on.
Thank you.
You're welcome, hon. Thank you. Good question.
Thank you, Zara. Alan, feel free to unmute yourself.
Oh goodness. All right. That was a great question. Um, hi, thank you for having this space. I
Hi.
just want to check in. I was here like a month ago for the first time and I started my play. I had previously created the document for the play to be started in.
Uh-huh.
Like opened a final draft. And then I sat down for that 20 minutes and I wrote my first scene and then I asked you like can I jump 10 years in the first scene?
Yeah. So how's it
So
going?
now it's going great. It is coming out and I'm at 65 pages.
Woohoo! All
And
right.
I'm wondering I'm wondering where the end is, but I'm trying not to stress too much about that. I have tons of like questions because just the question about rights or whatever is always something like that pops up because I'm writing about real people in my life, but I'm sort of trying to extrapolate it and not make it, you know, completely biographical and try to make it dramatic for the stage. But my mind is always, when I'm writing now, it's like, oh, what about this idea? And my instinct is always like, that's not what I'm writing. And then it takes me a little while, and then I finally write that thing, and I go, oh, that's what I'm writing, and that's taking me to the next thing, and it's opening doors. So I kind of was wondering, like, what is the trick to getting past that stuff quicker? And like, what are some other traps that come up for you as a writer, I guess, and how have you navigated them, and how have they evolved, and how have you moved through them quicker or whatever? I know that's kind of like a big question or whatever,
No.
but I hope that
All the tricks. I mean, the best trick that I know is just to keep showing up. That's the best trick, you know. And
yeah.
Carol's nodding again because Carol does a lot of writing too. You know, those of us who do a lot, you just keep showing up. You know, that you just keep showing up, you just keep at it. Whatever happens, you keep showing up. If you get sidetracked, you just keep working until you want to bring yourself back to what you feel is the main track. Just keep showing up and keep writing. That's and positive self-talk is another thing.
Mm.
You know, if you're sitting around all day telling yourself, I don't know what's going on. I mean, not that you're doing that, but you know, I don't know what's going on. I'm no good, whatever, that kind of thing that some of us might get into a little bit. If you can just give yourself some positive self-talk, that's extremely helpful. Think of if any of you have kids or no kids or have ever seen a child, okay, or a puppy dog in the park. If the puppy dogs that are getting yelled at and told, you're no good, you're just going to grow up and bite people. You know, the children who were encouraged, mindfully encouraged, not just that soft, weird encouragement that's really shitty, but mindfully encouraging,
Yeah.
you know, they tend to think well of themselves, and you give them a chance. You want to give yourself a chance. So positive self-talk is key, and keep showing up. Those two things, that's the best medicine, you know.
No, I love that reminder. That's great. I appreciate you being here. This has been a gift, and thanks for hearing me.
Thank you. Page 65. Come on, Alan. Come on.
Let's go. Let's go.
That's very exciting. Well done. Good job.
Thanks.
Yes. Wonderful. Thank you, Alan. Ronnie, feel free to unmute.
Hi.
Hi,
So
Ronnie.
I hope this question isn't like too weird or redundant feeling, but I've been having this weird, I guess it's kind of writer's block, but it's also like sometimes I feel like a lot of times when I'm really in the zone when I'm writing, there's like I can like kind of like hear the characters and I can like see them and I kind of feel immersed in the world that I'm writing for. But I've been having this thing lately, or at least like today when I was sitting down to write, where I felt like I was seeing like only little like images almost, and it almost felt like I was watching like a silent film on like fast forward or something. Like I felt like I wasn't really like hearing the characters like I normally can when I write. And so I was wondering if you had any advice about like this type of writer's block, but also if this is just like a really weird situation, then forgive me.
It's the thing. One thing I've learned about the creative process over many years is that like it comes and goes, it ebbs and flows. I mean, the tide isn't always in, right? I mean, maybe it is in your ocean, but when the oceans I ever seen, the tide comes in, the tide goes out. Waves come on and then it's flat. Not every day. If you've ever done any surfing or known anybody who's ever done any surfing or seen surfing on TV, every moment is not a wave, right? It's not all, I do think in this culture where we have, you know, you got your phone and insta gratification. Oh my God, it's always happening. You know, the creative process is different. It's different. And so sometimes you can hear your characters, Ronnie, and sometimes, and what, does that mean you're not a writer? No, that means you're a writer who's having one of those days, right? And then sometimes it's like, oh my God, sometimes it's, and then you're a writer that's having one of those days. And like we were telling Alan, if you keep showing up, and you keep the positive self-talk going, you know, that you got this. Good for you. You showed up today. I know it was hard. It's okay. Look at you. I know you can do this. You know the story. Come on. Good job. That kind of stuff, right? Then you're giving yourself a chance. And that's all you need. You know, so join the club. Yes, you are now officially in the club of people who have had fucked up days writing. Confetti falls from the sky. Oh my goodness. Welcome to the club of the weirdos. Thank you, Ronnie. We love that you're here. Is that okay?
Yeah, no, totally.
Okay, it
Thank
just
you.
it is what it is. We keep showing up, and the voices in our heads and the muses and the spirits and the, you know, all that, they keep showing up because we keep showing up. Guaranteed. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you so much, Ronnie. All right, we are at 5:54. Probably have time for at least one more question if anyone has a burning question that they want to share. Excellent. Yes. M, please feel free to unmute yourself.
Hi, thanks. Sorry, my initials are up automatically. It's Mario. I haven't been here in a very long time, but great to see everyone.
Great to see you.
Hi, Kimmy. Yep, and I see Carol too. My question is, I'm wrestling with a short story. I'm used to always writing mostly with characters in the present or in their present, rather. And typically, if they're referencing something in the past, they're, you know, talking about it in the moment, remembering something. And so I'm trying to play with flashback, or thinking about flashback as being another way to get to the past. And I'm wondering about, once you've started in a flashback, coming back to the present, how to kind of make that feel more organic or more natural and not so abrupt necessarily, or determining when it makes more sense to use flashback as opposed to just having someone explain something that's happened in the past versus having to go back and see it or relive it, and
Right.
working through that.
That's a cool question. Yeah, I would think maybe you could think about like triggers, for lack of a better word, right? I mean, think about in your own life, what moves you to think about what happened yesterday? What are you doing right now? Oh, wow, look, there's that butterfly. I saw a butterfly yesterday. It landed on her nose. Cool. And then it flew away. And, you know, so think of the flashbacks for me are like doors opening. So what door, where's the character that in their story that allows that door to open? And then as they're in that flashback, that past moment, what then allows them to go through the next door back into the present tense of the story? You know, they should be story connected, not like just mental, psychological, I want a flashback here. Okay, so that often helps. Also, I was telling my NYU students today, exposition is made more powerful if you connect it with desire. So if you have to have a character say something, you know, tell like 10 years ago when we were whatever, right? If they have a need, connect need to it, it really makes the exposition sound like it's necessary, which it will be, right? So those are helpful things.
Thank you so much. That's really helpful to think about the motivation in either circumstance.
Yes, well said. The motivation in either circumstance. Well said.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mario. And ooh, SLP, exposition is more powerful when connected to desire. I am remembering that. I need to tell, there's a number of playwrights I'm working with right now where I'm like, I need to say that.
Right?
That's it.
Yeah. Right?
Oh,
Right?
yes. Amazing. Amazing.
I didn't learn that in grad school either.
Oh, so good. Delisa, yes, I see your hand. So I think you'll probably be our last one for the day.
Yes, thank you so much for everything. I just wanted to say that just in that last exchange about flashback and flashbacks and how to like the triggers completely blew my head completely off.
Uh-oh.
Because it opened up a whole different level of how I can tell my story. So thank you for that.
Look at that.
I was feeling stuck.
Mm.
So I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for this space. That was so helpful.
Look at that. Thank you for mentioning that, Delissa, because a lot of times we ask questions and they help somebody else also, you know, so that really beautiful, beautiful. That's the power of community.
So grateful for that. So grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm so grateful for all of you. It's 5:58. Yeah, are we back next week? New work development?
We are. Zoe and I were just looking that up. We are back next Monday, the first Monday of March, March 3rd.
First Monday of March, the beginning of March Madness. Or
The
whatever.
beginning of March Madness.
I don't know what happens in March Madness. All right. All right, dear people. Well, we could say bye. It's 1 minute to go.
Yes.
Enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you so much. Thank you, New Work Development. Thank you, HowlRound. Thanks, everybody. For tuning in. Love you. Love you. Have a good week.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you all. Have a
Bye.
great week. See you next week.